Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hi. Please join us in body and spirit as we sing our opening hymn of the service. It's hymn number 305, De Colores. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Sunday. Welcome to our service this morning. Whether you are here in person or participating online, we are glad to be with you. I'm Courtney O'Neill, your worship associate serving today, along with Reverend Roger, Catherine Desberg leading music, and Irina Tchantceva. The mission of our congregation says, we come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world. Toward this end, we honor the Nishanan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples for their enduring commitment to this land where UUSS exists. They have never left, ceded, nor ceased to care for this land. For those on Zoom, if you would like to follow what's happening today with an order of service, you can click on the link in the chat. The order of service is also on the table in the back of the room. If you are new, or not, the Blue Sheet Weekly Calendar can be an important guide to finding activities of interest to you. You can find the Blue Sheet on the back table and on our website through a link in the chat. Our weekly message comes out by email every Friday with announcements and a note from one of the ministers. We're happy to send you this email if you fill out a newcomer's form, either by a link in the chat or at the greeters table after the service. In a recent weekly message, you have been alerted about the criminal scams going out in emails and in texts, which sound as if they are coming from our ministers, but they do not. Please do not respond to any appeals for gift cards or for your personal information. Today, after the service on Zoom, there will be 12 minutes to get acquainted in Zoom breakout rooms. If you're here in person, we have coffee, tea, refreshments, and conversation. I have a few highlights from the blue sheet and the weekly message to share. Next Sunday, Terry Taylor and Crystal Fountain are inviting all ages to stay after the service and do some beading. Help us make beaded keychains, bracelets, and trinkets to give to participants in the upcoming backpack blessing ceremony. No experience is necessary. We have beads and supplies to share and some snacks. So next Sunday in the Foz room after church. Today after church is our monthly newcomer orientation and tour. It will start 15 minutes after the service, and it will go until 1 p.m. Childcare will be available. Even those who are not newcomers are welcome to attend. This is Reverend Rogers' last tour before his sabbatical begins. So anybody who wants to attend may do so and put him through his paces. This Tuesday evening is our monthly program of Interplay. All ages are welcome to join us for movement, storytelling, laughter, and fun. Our member Katie Hymans will be hosting Interplay this Tuesday in this building at 6 p.m. Registration is now open for our Soul Matters small groups. These groups build connections and provide a place where we can speak and listen to what matters most to us. Whether you are meeting online or in person, these groups are structured around themes that are also used in worship and religious education programs. These facilitated groups of 8 to 10 people will meet twice a month, starting in September and ending in May. Our groups will take a break from late December to late January. You can register through our website, or you can sign up on the patio on Sundays from now until September 3rd. 2 weeks from today, we have an amazing musical concert. Irina on piano and Thomas Durthik on double bass. They will be playing music by Soviet-era composers, including those who stayed in Russia and those who had to flee. Read about this August 27th afternoon benefit for UUSS in our blue sheet, in our weekly message, and on our website. And now is the time to turn off your cell phones or your Apple Watches or your non-Apple Watches to silent mode so that we can avoid the distraction of ringers and chimes. And as you do that, here's one more announcement. Our Meadow fundraiser takes place today after the service. You may have seen it in the lobby. We're going to be building a pollinator-friendly garden in our meadow next to the patio. John McMillan and Glory Wickland have a display in the welcome hall to show the flowering bushes and other beautiful plants that you can donate toward, and we can then put them in the meadow. There are a range of prices, and each one includes the drip irrigation and the soil amendments. It's going to be beautiful. John and Glory, could you stand up so that we know where you are? Oh, there they are. They're right there. And now, let us be present in this time together so that we can receive our music for centering. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Whether you're with us on Zoom or here in the room, it's good to be with you. 15 minutes ago, there were about 3 of you here, so I'm really happy to see a large crowd and happy to know that you're there on Zoom too. Jack will light our chalice this morning after I say these words. Jack, come on up. Is that right? Oh, that Jack, sorry. Hi. These words are from Adrian L. H. Graham, who is a Unitarian Universalist in Rockville, Maryland. We kindle a flame of power, illuminating the holy in each of our faces. We recognize in the flame a passionate commitment to our shared faith and values. We are held and carried from day to day, week to week, in the shining of the light. This flame is mine, as well as yours. We are brought together on this day, called to growth, to expansion within its glow. What does your heart know while beholding this holy flame? Thank you. Now it's time for religious education. So I'd invite Crystal and any other leaders and any kids or youth who are going to come on down while Courtney leads us in singing you out.
The children out. So if all those who are coming to religious education can come on up. You want to put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You got to put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Thank you. We are a community of care and compassion, of gratitude and celebration. Therefore, we take time to lift up our sorrows and concerns, our joys and hopes. If you would like to let the ministers know of your joy or sorrow and let us know whether you'd like it included in an upcoming service, you can find a link to it in the weekly message email, or you can call the office before 5 by Friday. Today, there are many things on our hearts. We extend our condolences to Keith White and Glory Wickland on the passing of Keith's sister, Julie Ann White. She died after a long journey with cancer, knowing that she was loved by her family. Today, our hearts go out also to the people of Hawaii, especially those on the island of Maui, which has been devastated by wildfires. On that island of such beauty, at least 90 people have perished, along with other creatures and habitats destroyed. So many homes destroyed, as well as schools, businesses, and houses of worship. We hold everyone in our hearts. Let us give thanks for all who are providing help and assistance in this tragic time. In the country of Ecuador this past week, an anti-corruption candidate for election to the presidency was assassinated on the campaign trail. Let us extend our condolences to the people of Ecuador. In this time of grief and uncertainty, let us send prayers for courage and strength. On this warm summer day, we can be sure that among us and around us are many occasions of gratitude and hope. This is the month of school transitions as students prepare for a new school year, a new grade of school, or perhaps for college, or beginning the world of work. And we cheer them on with love. We bless them and bless those who care for them. We give thanks also for artists and writers and actors. Let us wish them well in this time of solidarity. With joy, we cheer the accomplishment of our own Greta Gerwig, whose new Hollywood movie is breaking records and stirring so many conversations. Let us give thanks for all good gifts, including the gift of this new day. Now, I invite you to join me in taking some time for centering. Let us notice where our bodies are making contact with whatever is holding us, wherever we are. And let us appreciate the earth holding us all. And now let's notice our breathing. Taking a deep inhale breath and pausing and then letting it out deeply. One more time, a deeper breath in, pausing and letting it out deeply. As we continue breathing together, may we open to the spirit of divine love and invoke the spirit of human kinship. And let us hear these words of prayer. O Spirit of compassion and companionship and presence, be with us always. Draw near to us in times of uncertainty and change and fear. Teach us to hold one another gently and hold one another in abundant love. Show us the ways that we can nurture authenticity and wholeness and peace in ourselves and in one another. So may it be. Blessed be, and amen. And now let us pause for a few moments for our private meditations and personal prayers. Blessed be.
Please rise as you're able in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 159, This Is My Song.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands so far and wide. This is my home, the
This reading comes from Adrian L.H. Graham, an African-American man. Earlier we heard his prayer and his words for the chalice lighting. In 1999, Adrian became a UU at the First Unitarian Church of Baltimore, and now he serves on the staff of the UU Church in Rockville, Maryland, as the Director of Congregational Engagement, and he's preparing for the ministry. And after this reading, we will take a few moments of silence together to let the words rest in our awareness. And then, after the silence, we will hear a reflection by Courtney, and then music for reflection. Adrian Graham. I remember once leaving a party held at the house of some friends from church and being told, "You shouldn't use the alleyways to get home." I'd not been living in the city very long, and I was in my early 20s. Everyone else at the gathering would have been older than I was, and most of them were white. All these years later, I no longer remember why we had gathered over a meal or who was present. I only remember that they had concern over my well-being and their counsel that I should walk home by the well-lighted streets of our downtown neighborhood. I also remember being in the church office and being asked, "Why are you wearing your name tag?" Again, I don't remember the particular circumstance of the day, just that I was the only black person on the staff at the time and the only man. It was an innocent enough question, and yet it stuck with me in its unknowing simplicity. You see, I didn't have any fear of walking home through the alleyways all those years ago. As a young black man, I was the one that other people would be wary of in the dark. Other people would see me approaching, wearing my hoodie in the darkness, and they would clutch their purses. They would cross the street. They would not offer any hello in response to mine. And when you're the only black man in a sea of whiteness, it doesn't matter that you're on the staff. It doesn't matter that the keychain around your neck has the keys to every locked door. It doesn't matter that the parking lot is well lit at night. Purses still get held closely, and people still cross the street, and hellos still get lost in the void. My name tag is my validation and my shield. People who know me personally often express shock and disbelief when I speak these truths to them because they know me. But you shouldn't have to know me to be unafraid.
I've been a part of a book club for the past 15 plus years. The women in this club are my very closest, dearest friends. We meet monthly, and our discussions, which can go for hours, always bounce back and forth between the book that we've all read and updates on each other's lives, discussions about pop culture, the current political climate, family life, etc. At our most recent gathering a week or so ago, one of my book clubbers shared her observation about that month's book. Her critique was an analysis that could be applied not just to the book itself, but also to bigger things such as life, politics, even social inequities. As she shared her criticisms, I felt myself reacting, and I could feel my face flushing, and defensiveness was spreading throughout my body. I was upset. I was even angry that my dear friend was criticizing this book, a book I had absolutely loved. And I felt in some way that she was attacking me in her criticism. I knew in that moment that although we debate plenty in book club, it was not a good idea to engage in a discussion right then or to try to challenge her viewpoint. I was feeling reactive, and I wanted time to process my feelings. So as she finished making her points, I focused on my breathing and I thought, I will unpack this with myself later. That evening, when I'd had time to process this experience, I found myself, rather than dwelling on my friend's criticism, coming back to my own reaction. Why had I reacted so strongly? Why did I take a different response to a book, even a book that I loved, so personally? Was this a bigger issue that I needed to address between me and my friend, or was this something I needed to be more reflective about in terms of my own response? These are questions that I'm still asking. As you can see, I'm still working through this experience, even a week or two later. But I'm actually glad this experience happened the way it did, because it made me remember that I'm confronted by different viewpoints and different people all the time. We all are. That's part of what it means to go through this world, especially right now. We all have life experiences and opinions, and inevitably, we engage with other people that look at the same issues very differently. Sometimes, those differing views are presented tactfully, and sometimes we disagree in debates or arguments with anger and with vitriol. What I'm learning now from my book club experience is something that I hope I can remember when I'm out in the world interacting with others and inevitably meeting people who challenge my point of view. I'm learning that my feelings are just that, feelings. They're not fact. They're also transient. The way that I felt about that book club exchange later that evening was very different from how I felt about it when it was happening. My tendency has always been to react in the moment, for good or for bad. But I'm trying to remind myself now of the importance of taking the time to sit with myself, to understand my own feelings better before engaging with someone else. And maybe, most importantly, I'm trying to remember the importance of breathing in that moment. Our congregation's mission statement says, "We come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world." Among the ways we pursue this mission is the practice of giving half of each Sunday's offering with an organization that is working to heal the world. Our community partner for the month of August is the International Rescue Committee of Northern California. Please give generously in support of this important organization. On the slide, you can see the ways that you can contribute electronically or by mailing in a check. It's also posted in the chat box. You can contribute by text from right here in the sanctuary. The International Rescue Committee responds to the world's worst humanitarian crises and helps people whose lives and livelihoods are shattered by conflict and disaster to survive, recover, and gain control of their future. Here in Sacramento, IRC has helped thousands of refugee families to get the support they need to restart their lives. At this time, they are assisting refugees from the Ukraine who are fleeing the war. Our congregation has participated in many ways over the years with supplies to establish their homes, ESL lessons, garden space, driving lessons, and many more along with our financial contributions. We are proud of our connection to this organization. Please give as generously as you can. Our shared offering will now be given and received.
As our volunteers bring our offering down to the front, please join me in speaking our unison words of response. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits. I've had a cold for about a week and have obsessively tested myself for COVID. Maybe it's only an allergy, but it's annoying. And if I have a coughing moment in the next few minutes, it's not because I'm getting choked up over my own sermon. No. But I will be okay. Today's world is challenging and confusing. The future is uncertain and scary. Things change faster than we can keep up with. Discomfort is inevitable, even in a congregation. So it's worth remembering that a Unitarian Universalist congregation does not sustain itself by a uniform state of comfort. Comfort is only a feeling. It's not a principle. It's not a value. No, we are sustained by our sense of covenant. A covenant simply is a promise, a commitment. In a community like ours, this means a commitment to living by our shared values. We can find courage in doing this, not alone, but together. 6 decades ago, when the individual Unitarian and Universalist denominations merged into one, they adopted a set of principles around which our congregations could unite. One of those principles was to affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality and the dignity of man. That was in 1961. In 1984, we adopted revised wording, which was gender inclusive, and since then we have said our congregations affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This feels obvious to many of us, perhaps even comfortable and easy to proclaim. Yet if we're too comfortable with it, we can lull ourselves into thinking that it means that all people are the same. The weakness of thinking that people are all the same is that we are not spiritually or emotionally prepared when people surprise us with their ways of being different. To say that people are still the same is a myth which puts at risk anyone who is outside the dominant culture. I've been thinking about this since I read an article in the Atlantic magazine by Dara Horn, who is Jewish. She describes the rapid growth in the field of Holocaust education. Over the past 50 years, many Holocaust museums and education centers and speakers bureaus were established not only because of the Nazi genocide, but also in response to anti-Semitic events in local communities in the decades since then. Consequently, 25 state governments now mandate Holocaust education in schools. To the folks working for such programs, the goal is to increase tolerance, reduce hatred, and stop violence. Unfortunately, as Horn points out, anti-Semitism has been accelerating in recent years. So has the intimidation of other groups who differ from the dominant white culture. Horn writes, "I could fill pages with FBI hate crime statistics or with a list of violent attacks from the past 6 years, or even the past 6 months, or with the growing gallery of American public figures saying vile things about Jews. Or I could share stories you probably haven't heard, such as one about a threatened attack on a Jewish school in Ohio in March 2022, where the would-be perpetrator was the school's own security guard. But none of that would capture the vague sense of dread one encounters these days in the Jewish community, a dread unprecedented in my lifetime." End of quotation. Most of our Holocaust education has failed to reduce intolerance, Horn argues, because it has failed to describe the centuries-old history of anti-Semitism that preceded the Holocaust. It's as if it came from outer space or it came from nowhere. The fuel of intolerance is made up of ignorance, fear of difference, falsehoods, resentment, and scapegoating. But when Holocaust education gives no sense of what is distinctive about the textures of Jewish lives and cultures, it does nothing to remove that fuel. On social media like YouTube, conspiracy theories flourish which accuse Jewish leaders of having inordinate power and making plans to undermine our financial security and the safety of our children. Of course, spreading stuff like that puts Jewish children in danger. Such lies are not only similar to those of Germany 90 years ago, they are like the lies that have generated anti-Jewish violence for centuries in what we call Western civilization. Much of Holocaust education tries to teach that people shouldn't hate Jews because Jews are normal. They are just like everybody else. Horn says this is part of the problem. If someone doesn't meet your version of normal, then it's fine to hate them. This framing perhaps explains why many victims of today's American anti-Semitic street violence are visibly religious Jews, as were many of Europe's Holocaust victims, Horn says. At a book signing in Michigan, she met a Jewish man in a skull cap or kippah. He told her that in the grocery store, another man had rammed his cart and then shouted, "The kosher bagels are in the other aisle." On another day, this man had taken his kids to a baseball game where another fan had pelted them with popcorn. In January of 2017, Donald Trump's White House issued a statement recognizing International Holocaust Remembrance Day. U.S. presidents have done this for decades, yet the statement issued in 2017 did not mention anti-Semitism or Jewish people. The White House didn't name any categories of people, only innocent victims. That might seem to be inclusive, but consider that the Holocaust resulted from Nazi Germany's official policy to solve what it called the Jewish question. The policy was called the final solution. Jews were its intended and primary targets. Given that the Trump administration was less than 2 weeks old then, one might assume that that was an oversight. The statement was released in haste. Yet on the very same day, the Trump administration issued an executive order slashing the number of refugees to be allowed into this country and banning all refugees from Syria, among other countries. During Trump's campaign, he had promised to have a Muslim ban, as he called it, and so he did. Dara Horn writes that an experienced Holocaust educator she interviewed told her that many teachers in the field are wary of teaching about the connections between historical anti-Semitism and today's expressions of it. That's because they fear that parents are going to call or administrators are going to call and they're going to say, "You're pushing an agenda." Isn't the agenda to stop hatred? Horn asked. In order to stop the dehumanizing of a group of people, shouldn't we humanize them? Of course, this would apply to all groups who are misunderstood, lied about, and targeted. Horn says that the kids who draw swastikas on a high school bathroom's wall probably know about the Holocaust, but they probably don't know much about Jewish people. When I was in junior high, I learned about the Holocaust. I learned about the scale of the genocide, the images of people crammed in boxcars, the death camps, and the gas chambers. But I didn't learn much about Jewish history or culture. I didn't learn about it for many years. In high school, I knew we had one Jewish boy, but I didn't know him. All I heard about Jewish Americans came from crude remarks and stereotypes, which were asserted as facts by my relatives and neighbors. Suspicion of Jewish business owners was a familiar theme. It's centuries old. We knew better than to say it in their presence, of course. In my family, negative attitudes about others were not limited to Jews. We looked down on any group which we thought of as not like us, as them. What led me gradually away from that kind of thinking was the struggle of coming to terms with the reality that I was a member of one of those categories of them. In the early 1980s, I was in college when I began to come out of the closet as a gay person. I came out slowly because I had heard so many ill-informed remarks, so many hostile remarks from relatives, classmates, even teachers. Since I could pass as not gay, the assumption that I was not gay made those close to me feel quite free to talk about them, with jokes and mocking of gay people, with expressions of disgust or fear. The message I got was, if you're queer, don't talk about it. Don't make other people uncomfortable. In college, I made regular visits to the office of the academic advisor in one of my major departments, and we became friends. We became even closer after I started attending the local UU church, where I discovered that she and her husband were members. One Sunday at coffee hour, she was talking about her son and his girlfriend. Then she asked, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I paused. I thought. I said, "Well, I guess I haven't told you before, but I'm gay." She said, "Oh, I didn't know that." Well, gay people are okay, so long as they don't flaunt it. It was so easy for her to say they, because she wouldn't have to show any interest in me or the particulars of life as a gay young adult in America. She wouldn't have to practice any curiosity or empathy if she could say they. My interpretation of what she said was, "Don't talk to me about this too much. That would be flaunting it." Normally, I would have followed this instruction. Instead, I said something like this: "Well, don't you think it's important for people to be open about who they are? Otherwise, we can't make it safe for more people to come out." "Well, yes," she said. From that point, however, I tried not to make her uncomfortable again, and I didn't really trust her. Since 1961, the Unitarian Universalist principles to which our local church, her church, my church, our church, principles to which it had made a commitment, had said that our congregations affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality. I guess it should have been more specific. We cannot affirm the worth of every person only in the abstract. We can't mean it if we're not able to open ourselves to the abundant variety of people in our world, in our communities, in our lives. To live by this value means living with discomfort sometimes. Discomfort arises when we encounter the very many particular forms of human identity. The cure for discomfort is curiosity. Curiosity paired with respect. This is where spiritual practices can be helpful. As we heard from Courtney a few minutes ago, when we have strong reactions to a situation or to other people, instead of believing those reactions, we can examine them. Instead of acting on them, we can take a deep breath and pause and reflect, and then we can engage in the practice of curiosity. Courtney said that she is learning that feelings are just that, feelings. They're not fact. And they are also transient, she said. She's reminding herself of the importance of taking time, of trying to understand her own reactions before she acts or speaks. Our whole country needs this kind of practice. We need this in order to inoculate ourselves from the assaults on decency and on human dignity, which seem to be accelerating. For example, state governors and many local school boards are suppressing education about the diversity of this country's history. They've tried to pass laws that say we should not make students uncomfortable by addressing the tragic aspects of our history, including laws and systems of racial oppression, which are part of our history and part of our present day. Of course, discomfort is part of any learning process. Discomfort arises when we learn more about the real world and the many people who live in it. If we deprive students of the challenge of learning about and learning from the variety of people who share the world with us, we will perpetuate ignorance. This will generate more isolation and suspicion. We continue to talk about people we do not understand as them. We fall prey to the lies which lull us into accepting injustice. We put up with policies that separate people and hurt them. To be sure, society has changed rapidly in the past few decades with regard to gender roles in families, and then with regard to the expression of different sexual orientations and gender identities. It can be confusing even if you want to keep up with it. Yet social confusion, misunderstanding, uncertainty, and unease are the territory in which corrupt and authoritarian movements try to gain power. Right now, around the country, governors and legislators are promoting and enacting laws that are aimed at adults and youth who are transgender. School teachers are banned from addressing students by the pronouns the students ask for. Some teachers have to report such a request to the parents. When transgender students are made to use the restroom of the gender opposite to the one with which they identify, they are at risk of ridicule or assault. Parents who do support their children are prohibited from obtaining any form of gender-affirming medical care when their children request it. In at least one state, the parents can be charged with child abuse and have their youth removed from the family for supporting their transgender children. Many of these families are trying to flee the states that are passing such laws. People in more open states are taking them in as refugees. The Reverend Cecilia Kingman is a UU minister who studies fascistic movements and their tactics. In a lecture she gave at our ministerial gathering last June, Kingman made the case that the assaults on trans people and their families are a trial balloon for fascist politicians in this country. By picking one of the most vulnerable groups, one of the most misunderstood groups, they're watching to see how much resistance there is to it. But if they succeed, they won't stop there. This is why right-wing authoritarians do not want us to learn about the varieties of human differences. They don't want us to understand people we don't know, much less accept them or celebrate them. In confronting assaults on human worth and human freedom, it is not enough to say we're all the same. People are all the same. To promote human dignity and safety, we must learn about our human differences. To appreciate human variety, we need empathy, and empathy requires curiosity. And curiosity must be paired with respect. The human species, our species, has an abundant variety. We are varied in cultures, habits, religious practices, occupations, and family structures. Humans have a variety of sexual orientations. We have gender identities, not according to society's binary limitation, but along a broad spectrum. We have a variety of talents and abilities. Human traits vary among individuals and across geography, whether we're talking about continents or neighborhoods. There is so much that we don't understand about one another and about one another's experience of life. So much remains for us to learn. There will always be more to learn about our abundant human variety. Doing so will cause discomfort, at the very least. In these troubling times, it will call for courage to assert the dignity of every human soul. It will require endurance to defend and celebrate the inherent worth of every person. But how blessed we are to remember that we are not alone in sharing this principle, not alone in sharing this commitment. We are together. So may it be. Blessed be, and amen.
Please join us in singing hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land. Please rise and body your spirit as you feel moved to.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves our mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters, where brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where all of our kindred, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land, burn up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where all of our kindred, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from the spirits once faint and once weak, where oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build the land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where all of our kindred, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, please join me in speaking our shared intention. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
I invite you to reach out to one another, reach out to us. If you're at home, reach out to us, and we reach out to you. May you depart in peace and return in joy. For all who see God, may God go with you. For those who embrace life, may life return your affection. And for all who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Go in peace. Blessed be.